Hello there, and welcome to Grounded Health and Wellness. My name is Kate, and today I wanted to talk to you about one of the most beautiful practices that Ayurveda has gifted us with the notion of Abhyanga, or this oil self massage. So, this practice has been utilized in Ayurveda for thousands of years, ever since Ayurveda really kind of came on the map there thousands of years ago. But it's something that we can incorporate into our everyday life in order to really support us not just physically, but our emotional and overall well-being. It's a great thing to do. It's fairly inexpensive, and other than being a little bit messy, but I'll give you some hacks around that. It's something that I encourage you to do as often as works for your schedule. Maybe ideally starting out with a practice maybe once a week where you carve out time to really enjoy the practice itself and kind of create a habit for yourself around this. Most people that follow Ayurveda uh, more I don't want to use the word strict, but more in a regimented way, will perform Abhyanga every day as a daily practice because its benefits truly are endless. But I'll be honest, I do not practice it daily. I kind of carve out time once a week, or I also implement the practice, especially in and around travel, because it's so supportive for Vata dosha when we are traveling. So I definitely make an effort to do that. But I wanted to give you some little ways that you could perhaps incorporate this into a more realistic way in your day to day. So just to kind of back the card up a little bit to explain what Abhyanga is. So it's the use of warm oil as you massage it all through the skin from head to toe. So um, there are some kind of conflicting opinions around what type of oil to use. I'm just going to say to you here and now, whatever is available to you that feels nice for you is one that I would encourage to use. If you're looking to dive a little bit deeper and understand from a doshic perspective, which oils might be better suited to help pacify any imbalances that you're dealing with your dosha, generally speaking, the heavier the oil is more suiting towards that vata dosha. So, because we're trying to calm that kind of cool wind energy. So, something a little heavier would be like a refined sesame oil, not the sesame oil that we use in cooking, but just regular refined sesame oil would be lovely for vata dosha. If you tend to run on the hotter side or you're managing pitta dosha, then a coconut oil would be beautiful for you. And for kapha dosha, again, we want something a little bit lighter. So maybe something like a almond oil would be nice. You can also use the sesame oil with kapha, but it tends to be a little bit heavy. I'm going to put a link down in the show notes that you can also check out. There's a beautiful Canadian company that creates Ayurvedic products, one of them being the Abhyanga oils, and they actually infuse the oils with particular Ayurvedic herbs that are specific to your dosha. So I personally interchange the oils that I'm using depending on the season, but they are lovely and they are made with deep intention and mantra, and they're just a beautiful product. I really support what they're putting out there. So I'll put that link in the show note. And if you head over via that link, I also, there's a discount. You can get my discount if you follow that link over. All right, so let's get into it. So, what exactly does Abhyanga do for us? So, first and foremost, it is a beautiful practice to relieve tension, anxiety, and stress. So, this kind of nourishing practice of that tactile connection from our hands to our body, from head to toe, it kind of calms the nervous system with that added element of the oil. The oil is penetrating through the tissues, nourishing all the muscles and even down to the bones. So it's a beautiful kind of grounding practice from that perspective and really kind of supports the nervous system. So here again, we're working with that element of keeping Vata dosha kind of calm and balanced. So Abhyanga is beautiful for that. That's why I'd mentioned before about travel, because traveling can be very disruptive to Vata dosha. So I always like to practice an Abhyanga before I'm planning to leave on travel, and then the day after I've arrived at my destination. I find that really helps with my nervous system. All right. The other thing is you can imagine, because you're kind of rubbing and massaging the oil in all over your body, it is very good for improving circulation in the body. We're kind of stimulating that lymph underneath the skin in order to move things. So if you tend to feel a bit sluggish or have issues with movement of lymph in your body, this Abhyanga massage is beautiful for that. Um, it also really helps with sleep. So if I personally like to perform Abhyanga before bed, so I'll make like a little kind of routine out of it, or a ritual rather, where I will give myself the nice massage, hop into a warm shower, and then crawl into bed and have the best sleep ever, because it is extremely grounding for you in that perspective. So if you're someone that suffers with sleep, or is challenged with insomnia, this practice of Abhyanga would be a beautiful start for you in order to kind of help support the grounding nature of getting into that deeper sleep. Okay, so we're also kind of moving and stimulating here. I talked about moving the lymph. So you can imagine that the massage itself is also very supportive to our internal organs. So when we're kind of getting up under the rib cage as well and massaging in through the liver, the belly, the intestine, that gentle pressure that we're creating through this massage is very stimulating to some of those organs that may tend to be neglected a little bit as far as gentle pressure or attention. So people that may also suffer from constipation, this is a beautiful practice when you're kind of massaging the oil, finding a circular motion, kind of, up towards the right, down the left, and around, kind of helps stimulate or encourage that movement for the colon as well if you tend to run a little bit sluggish with the bowels. So the other thing is, which is kind of straightforward, is it is a natural hydrator for the skin. So most of the products that we're using to cleanse our bodies are pretty dehydrating. There can be detergents in them and things like that. And depending on how clean your products are, this is going to affect your skin differently. This is also going to change depending on the season that we're in and perhaps how hydrated we are. From a seasonal change in perspective. So this oil massage is a beautiful way to externally support kind of the suppleness of the skin. And it really, like I said, penetrates all those different layers through the skin into the muscles and down to the bone. So it's a beautiful practice that is kind of stays with us through all the different phases and stages of life as we age. This Abhyanga is so supportive for that, as our skin tends to get a little thinner as we age and maybe a little bit drier because we are entering that Vata stage of life. So Abhyanga really nourishes the body in that sense, keeping kind of joints limber, muscles more fluid, and that sort of thing. And there is nothing better, I will tell you. I don't care what moisturizer you use on the market. When you have had a full body head to toe Abhyanga massage, that I don't know, smoothness, softness of the skin afterwards is something that I've never experienced until I started practicing this. All right, so those are just some of the benefits. I'll also add a link in the show notes where you can kind of pop over to a site I have located with a really good explanation as far as all the benefits, but those are kind of the high level. So how do we practically perform this in a day-to-day perspective? So as you can imagine, this can probably get quite messy if we're warming up oil, we're lathering it all over ourselves, and then how do we kind of function, like as far as, utilizing our bathroom, and maybe we're sharing a bathroom with the people that we're living with and so forth. So this is the best way that I have found for me for it to work in a real practical sense. So I have a towel that is my Abhyanga towel. So I lay that on the floor. I also have kept over the years the kids' bottle warmers when they were young. And I'll just put the oil in kind of a jar and sit it in that bottle warmer to warm it up. If you don't have something like that, just get a hot bowl of hot and warm water and put the other container of the oil inside so the oil is nice and warm. You don't want it too hot, of course, you just want it a little warmer for the skin. And then I start at the scalp. So I start just kind of dipping my fingers into that oil. I start massaging my scalp all the way through the face, the temples, outside the ears, inside the ears, down the neck, and I continue down all across my body, all the way down to the soles of my feet. Because I'm standing on that towel, it does not make that much of a mess. And then once the oiling is kind of done, you have the option to leave the oil on for as long as you want. I find that it tends to get a bit cold in the bathroom, so I just kind of put all the oil on, and then I'm hopping into a warm shower. The only thing I will say is just be careful if you do have oil on your feet. You want to be mindful about getting into your tub or your shower so that you don't slip. So once you're in the shower, you are not removing this oil with soap. You are just rubbing the oil into the skin, letting that hot water kind of open the pores and penetrating it in. You may even notice that it kind of starts to create like not a lather, but there is kind of like a little I can't think of the right word, but like a buildup where you start to see that that oil is kind of getting spread out across the skin, and that warm water is kind of penetrating off. My top tip for you with oil in the scalp is take your shampoo. This is the only soap you're using for Abhyanga, and you're putting the shampoo in your hair first. Create a little bit of a lather with a little bit of water. Otherwise, the oil ain't gonna come out of your hair. So I've tried this. It was a disaster. I had to wash my hair multiple times. So if you put the soap in before you add water, because oil and water don't mix, that will allow you to lather the hair enough to get the oil out. So that's my little kind of hack as far as how you get around that. So once you're done, you just get out of the shower and you're patting yourself dry with a towel. Try to avoid this kind of wiping the oil off. We want that oil to really penetrate and kind of stay in the skin, and enjoy the beautiful benefits of this practice afterwards. And you can just kind of explore for yourself. For me, it took me a little bit to get into this practice, I'll admit, without carving out that special time during the week, like one day a week where I'll perform the Abhyanga. So then I would just be using the oil after the shower instead of a moisturizer. So not a lot, but just enough to kind of get it onto my skin so that oil could penetrate into the body. The only issue that I found over time with doing this is the oil does kind of pull toxins out of the skin. So we don't really want that sitting on the surface area of the skin for a long time. So if I was putting that on in the morning, kind of to get up and go just to get the oil on, my intention would be to probably have a shower again later in the evening to make sure that I remove that waste. You don't want that sitting on top of the skin for too long. So that's basically it from me. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out anytime. Definitely check out those links below. Always liking and subscribing to the video so this can reach more people. And happy shopping for your oil for Abhyanga. And I really hope that you enjoy this beautiful ancient practice. It's been a game changer for me and something that has become a ritual, especially around travel and self-care. So that's it for me. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.